Hey Divine Ones, it's Jerome Braggs, the intuitive healer that helps you heal yourself and experience a truly healthy and happy life through the practice of self-love. I wanted to come with you and do a live video really quickly because there's been something that's been coming up in my life experience this past week, and it's kind of shifted what I was originally planning to talk about. I wasn't planning to do a live video on this topic for this week, but this has been coming up, and I wanted to make sure I address this because I know several of you this may be the experience of several of you, and it also may benefit you. Full transparency. I am cold in my house. My heater actually went out, and so I had a heating guy come over and try to fix it, and he needs to go get a part. So in between him going to get this part, I'm doing this video, but I am kind of bundled up over here. So if you see some blankets or anything anytime in this video, that is what's going on. I am cold. But anyway, I wanted to share with you the healing message behind lung issues. So as an intuitive healer, one of the things I do is I help people heal themselves of bodily issues. So that may be some type of illness or disease that they're experiencing. And what's been happening recently is a lot of my clients, both my current clients and some of my former clients, have reached out to me with some lung issues, whether they've had pneumonia or they're having problem breathing or they're having problems. They have something going on specifically elsewhere. I mean, not elsewhere because that's in the lungs, but they have something other than like pneumonia or some basic breathing problem, like they may be having a cancer or something in the lungs. And even myself recently, I've been getting over a sinus infection that was been kicking my ass pretty much. This past week, I got over it and then it came right back. And I also am very familiar with lung issues personally because when my experience started with my near-death experience, I wasn't just diagnosed with kidney failure and AIDS. I also had I also had many other life-threatening illnesses, and one of the illnesses that I had at that time that I was diagnosed with was pneumonia. And I've had pneumonia in a very serious case, like the kind that can take you out, the kind that will, if it doesn't get better quickly, that it is life threatening. It will literally take your life. I've had that about 3 times in my life. And when I was younger, when I was, around 6 to about, I want to say maybe about 12 or so, I had very severe asthma. And I had it to where I literally was in the hospital once a week getting breathing treatments because I was actually couldn't breathe. And so they'd have to take me to the hospital about not once a month, once a week to get these breathing treatments so that I could breathe. So I'm very familiar with lung issues. But as I teach that the body is not betraying us or punishing us. It is not operating outside of us. That anytime the body is experiencing an illness is only a message. It's an indicator of something. And it's an indicator and a reflection of something that's happening internally with us, more so in your consciousness and in your energy and in the way you're approaching your life with your energy. And so there's a message. So when things come up in the lungs, it has a very specific message. It has something it's usually related to. And I want to share that with you so that any of you all who are going through any kind of lung issues, this can help you in your healing journey and help you really understand what you need to do to effectively and efficiently heal yourself. So the lungs represent our ability to take in life because that's literally what they're doing. They're literally taking in the breath, and the breath is life, right? And so, but what is life? So when you're having problems with your lungs, what you're doing is you're having a problem, literally taking it. You've been having a problem taking in life, and not just what life is. I'm not talking about necessarily what life is presenting to you, like you're having some challenges or you're having some stresses or anything like that. But specifically, what this is what life. You have to understand what life actually is. Life is actually supposed to be joy. That is literally what the soul intends when it manifests here. That is what this life experience is supposed to be. It's supposed to be a joyous unfolding. And so And I've said this in many other videos before, but the soul does not um, create or intend or manifest anything for any other reason besides joy and expansion. And when I mean expansion, you have to understand what the soul is. The soul's energy is love, and I've talked about this in almost every video I've done, so you've heard this before. But the soul is literally love energy. And so when I'm talking about expansion, it's the expansion of love, the love energy that it is, helping it grow and become even bigger. So the soul does not choose to incarnate anywhere other than for the joy of it. When the soul is when we're in the non-physical realm, when we're in just the full soul, realm, when we choose that we want to have a lifetime, we want to have a life experience, we do that from the perspective of what joy am I going to experience? This life experience is worth it because of the joy that I'm going to experience and the expansion of love that I'm going to experience from this. This is going to offer me the opportunity to do that. And that's why the soul does it. It doesn't choose life for to learn a lesson. It doesn't choose life experience to try and prove a point so that it never has to come back here again. That's really actually false teachings. There are a lot of teachings out there about that. That's actually really false because, again, when you understand what the soul is, it is love. It is literally love. It is love energy. It is made of it. It is made for it. And it is always trying to express it more. And so it does not choose a life experience other than any other reason than it is going to experience more love, and joy is an aspect of love. So having said that, when we start to live lives, when we start to live our lives and we start to live lives where we have gone a long time without feeling joy, whether we have started to make our choices and we're starting to behave in ways where we're basing them off of responsibility and obligation. This is one of the main ways I see, as a matter of fact, when I'm working with clients, why I see that their lung issues have arisen is their life has become saturated with obligations and responsibilities and not their passions and not things that please them and that feel like fun and not things that make them feel a sense of fulfillment. Right? So they're making and they're making their choices, meaning they're choosing what they engage in, they're choosing what they show up for, they're choosing what they say yes to based on obligation and responsibility instead of inspiration, like what's calling them from a sense of joy. And again, those other things, what feels like a sense of fulfillment, what feels like fun to do, what feels like something that I'm very passionate about. And when you start to live your life that way, when you start to live your life for a prolonged period of time where you you're basing your life off of what you should do, what you're in a sense of overwhelm and stress. You're in and one second, let me open up my comments here for any of you all who have anything things like this. You're in a sense of overwhelm and stress. You are in a sense of basically where you're not enjoying yourself anymore. What that's going to do literally is it takes your breath away. Because joy breathes life through you. When you are working in your passions, when you are making decisions off of what's fun and what's pleasing for you, when you are doing things off of what fulfills you, right? And instead of what you think you should be doing, or you're saying yes when you really want to say no, when you make choices based off of joy, that literally breathes life through you. That's literally why I say, are you doing what breathes life through you or not? Are you really doing what breathes life through you? When you're having fun, when you're around people that you really love, when you're doing things that you're really passionate about, when you're doing things that offer you a sense of fulfillment, you feel like life, you feel charged. Life is breathing through you. But when you're not doing these things, when there's been a long time since you've done those things, it literally takes your breath away because you feel stressed, you feel overwhelmed, and then you'll start to develop lung problems. You start to develop lung issues. That's really what's happening. Your lungs are saying, you've got to get breath. We've got to get life in us. Breathe life through us. It's not necessarily about we got to get more oxygen in. It's literally about you have got to refocus your life on what breathes life through you instead of what's taking it away. And anytime, and so I told you I was having, some sinus issues and breathing issues last week. Prime example, when I tuned into my body initially, this is what I always do whenever some type of minor illness shows up for me. I always tune into my body and I ask my body what the message is. Not what the lesson is, because it's not trying to teach me anything. It's just an indicator. Again, it's like the gas gauge in your car, right? When the gas gauge in your car comes on, the gas gauge is not trying to teach you a lesson. The gas gauge is saying, hey, we're just low on gas. We're low on the fuel your car needs to run well, and you need to fuel back up. The same thing with the illness. The illness usually is showing up to tell you you've been running low on the fuel that your body needs to run well. And so what I'll tune into is I'll say, what do you need from me? What's the fuel you really need? What is the fuel you need from me? And I'll ask that particular part of my body. So if I'm having a problem breathing, I'll ask my lungs. If I'm having, an ache in my back, I'll ask my back. If I'm having something with my legs, I'll ask my legs. What is it that you have come to get my attention to that I need, that you need from me so that we can be properly fueled to run well in this life? And what I heard very clearly was, you have been doing so much. You've been giving so much of your energy away and not been charging it. You've been doing so much of what takes your breath away and not doing enough what breathes life through you in this time. And when I looked at my own life, I had just got so inundated with paying bills and doing all this housework and trying to fix some things that were broken, or in my house and in my car and all this type of stuff. And I had not spent any time for a while doing things that made me have a sense of fun, made me feel like a sense of joy. I hadn't been writing in a while, which brings me a lot of fulfillment. I hadn't been doing videos like this, which brings me fulfillment. And so I had been drained of what actually fuels me. And I had been running too low on what fuels me, and I was disconnected from joy. And so my healing wasn't just about taking, the sinus medication and all of that, because that's what I did the first time and got better. And then it came right back very quickly and worse the second time because I hadn't fixed the actual root issue. And when I began to say, okay, I need to stop. I need to stop with all these other things. Just put these down for a second. And I need to start doing things that fuel me, right? So I started going out to eat with some friends of mine that I hadn't seen in a while. I took a little trip. I just did things that I have a list of things that I know always fuel me. And so I just started to work on through that list. And before you know it, my body got better. And so I had a former client actually reach out to me recently who had a very serious case, who was having a very serious case of pneumonia, deathly as a matter of fact. So if you can, just kind of as you're here watching this video, just send some loving energy to that client. You don't need to know their name or anything like that. It's just the fact that I put that out there, you will be able to tune into their energy if you send it out. So just send that energy to that client. The client is trying to really heal, and they're literally, it's getting worse for them. And they reached out and they said, I need some help. What is this about? And when I tuned into their body, because as an intuitive, that's one of my gifts. I can literally tune into the energy of the body and see what the illness is that you're experiencing, why it's there, right? What the disconnection is, where you've not been fueling yourself. I can literally see what that is and see what you need to do to what your body is asking of you to do to fuel yourself so that it can heal. And so when I did that for this client, what I clearly saw was that my client had been for a very long time been operating off of obligation and responsibility. And I said that in the beginning of this video, but what I mean by that is, again, you're making your decisions on how you show up for your life every day and what you choose to do in your day based upon kind of what the to-do list says, what people are asking of you. You may be caregiving, all this other stuff, and it's always about stuff that is taking energy from you, and you're not actually making decisions based upon what breathes energy through you, what charges it back. And remember, as souls having human experiences, We are energy beings. We're basically like big batteries. So, like a battery, you can't just use, and expect to function. There's going to come a point where everything's going to stop functioning. And especially stop functioning well, you have to keep your battery charged in order for everything to stay well. And you have to do things that charge you. And one of the things that charge you is things that brings you joy. That is one of the main things, as a matter of fact. That's why Adam App, it's probably one of the top. I'd say it's number one. There are really kind of three things. And I've done videos before where I talked about those things that charge you, but probably number one at the top is things that bring you a sense of joy. And what I mean by joy is they bring you a sense of pleasure. They bring you a sense of fulfillment. It brings you a sense of fun and excitement. That includes your passions, all that type of stuff. So what I saw with this client was that she was it just hadn't been, very disconnected from this, right? Very disconnected from those things, not working in passions, not having a lot of fun. Instead doing things that, checking off to-do lists, having some stress, having overwhelm, saying yes to things the client really wanted to say no to. And that had carried on so much that she was very disconnected from joy, and her body was not fueled correctly. Her body was malnourished. It was basically malnourished. Joy is is one of the top nourishments that your body needs. And when you withhold joy from yourself, you're malnourishing your body. And when you withhold it, usually one of the things that will happen is you'll develop lung issues. And the lung issue is not there to take you out or to punish you. Again, it is an indicator. It's for you to say stop how you're living and what you're doing, and start to shift your life so that your life fuels you instead of drains you. It fuels you with joy instead of drains you with joy. And you have to make a shift for that, from living from you have to make a conscious and dedicated choice that you will live, that the guiding post for how you will live your life, for how you will make your decisions, for what you will say yes to, for how you show up and the type of work you do in the world, even the guiding choice and decision, that the litmus test for how you make all of that is joy. That you will focus your life on joy, because that's why you're here. You're here to make to have a centered, a life grounded and centered in joy. Literally. This is not some philosophical thing. This is not some even airy fairy thing, although I don't like to say that, because, a lot of the woo-woo stuff is very true. It's not false. It's actually really real. But this is one of the things that what I'm basically saying is this is the truth. The purpose for your life is joy. You're here to experience it, to get a lot of it in, because as the more joy you get in, the more your soul energy expands. And you're here to expand your soul energy on the planet. So one of the things that I saw was that this client was very disconnected from joy, and that this is why the pneumonia was showing up so bad, and that it wasn't just that they were disconnected for the last few days. They had been disconnected for a long time. And by the time you have something very life-threatening and very serious, by the way, that doesn't just show up overnight. That shows up in the energy long before it shows up in the body. It's in the energy field long before it's in the body, and you will feel it. And what I mean by it, you might not feel, oh, there's pneumonia coming. Right? You're not going to feel that, but you don't feel happy, and you've not been feeling happy for a long time. You feel stressed, and you've been feeling stressed for a very long time. You've been feeling overwhelmed for a very long time. You've been feeling disconnected from yourself and what makes you feel alive for a very long time. The body is your best friend. It is not just going to break down overnight when you just last night you didn't have fun and then the body's going to show up with pneumonia tomorrow. It doesn't happen like that. It usually is. This has been going on for a while, right? And it's been going on. It's been not just slightly, but with intensity. Right, you've been disconnected from joy with intensity for a while, and so that's what usually happens with the lungs. And so, if you aren't trying to heal the lungs, the message that the lungs usually have for you is get more joy in. Do what breathes life through you. Do what breathes life through you. And when you do what breathes life through you, your lungs will heal themselves. So one of the things that happened with me with asthma is one of the reasons why it just went away is I became happier. I literally became, I told you earlier that I had severe asthma as a kid. Well, as I grew, I started to really become a happier and happier person. And my asthma went away. And when I had my illness and when I went through my near-death experience, the reason why I had pneumonia so many times is I was really unhappy. I was very disconnected from all of the things that brought me any type of sense of joy. And so my healing of my lung issues, which I rarely have now, but I told you I had that sinus issue last week. I rarely have anything like that. I haven't had anything like that in years. I rarely have anything to do with the lungs now because I live my life for joy. Every once in a while, because we're human and we have some times where we forget. Every once in a while, I'll need another message when I've forgotten for too long, which is what I basically did. I started to get into my to-do schedule and get into responsibilities instead of making my life focus about joy and making sure that even if I have these responsibilities that I do, that I also balance that with the same amount, if not more, of joy, right? So I can't go days without joy. I really can't go a day without joy. You're really not supposed to go a day without it. But let's just say, yesterday was a crappy day. Okay, well today I need to charge myself. I need to do something to charge myself. I need to do probably 2 or 3 things to charge myself. So I know that, and I live my life that way. And I had just forgotten that, and I've just gone a week or so without doing that. And the sinus infection arose to help me remember that and to say, hey, you've been without joy for too long, and the body's not operating well without that. So that's what it really is. I see you all. Leslie says overwhelm can definitely lead to breathing difficulties. It always will. If you've ever noticed, by the way, if you just want to, if you don't want to take my word for it, really pay attention to yourself, pay attention to your body. Have you ever noticed that when you are stressed or when you are in overwhelm or when you're really scared, when you're worried about something, not even like terrified, but if you're just worried about something, you're anxious about something, what happens to your breath? You don't take deep breaths in. If you pay attention, you breathe fast. Right? You don't breathe you don't breathe normally. You're not getting in life. When you are relaxed, when you are having fun, when you are working in your passions, you breathe deeper. Your breaths are deeper, right? This is one of the main reasons why we say when somebody is stressed, or why you literally put your hand on their shoulder and you say, breathe. Just breathe. That's why, right? Life is supposed to be joy. And so taking in and breathing in life is breathing in joy. And when you have joy, you're going to take in deeper breaths. This is how you will heal your lung issues. I'm not saying that you don't take, any of the doctor's advice, or if you're working with an alternative therapist in any type of way, that you work with them. But please understand what the underlying message is. Do that, but also work on the root. And the root is you've been disconnected from joy and you need some more joy in. So I'm going to take, if you all have any questions, by the way, it's time to ask those, because I'm about to get off of here in just a second. Nancy says this is perfect. Thank you. Oh, thank you, Nancy. I'm really, really honored to know that you're getting something from this. Nancy asks, are you able to recognize that when you are in it? You mean me personally, or you, or like anyone? And what are you speaking of specifically when you say, am I able to recognize that? What's the it that you're speaking about? Can you put that in the questions if you're still on? And I'll tell you what that is. I'll give you my response. Leslie says, what message can chronic tooth decay be relaying? So here's my thing. So here's my thing. With any illness, anything of that sort, your body speaks to you specifically, and it creates the exact situation that is perfect to portray the message to you that you most need to hear, right? Regarding what you're doing or what you're not doing. It will craft it specifically and perfectly for you. So when people say, I'm not really one that will say, always kind of will give a umbrella kind of response to, well, when you have back issues, it's always about this, right? Because your back issue may be specifically about something, this specific thing over here, and this person's may be about something very different, right? But here's the litmus test for you can say. But usually the body does have kind of general things. Like I said, the lung generally is about you not getting joy in. But here's how you can specifically, without even knowing any of that, how you can get the message behind whatever you're dealing with. How does that situation make you feel emotionally? Right? How does it make you feel emotionally? How does it make you feel physically? Look at that. So but a lot of times when I say how you make you feel, a lot of people focus more so on what that feels like physically, and that will get you just a little bit of awareness and insight. But the big insight is going to be, how does this make you feel emotionally? So and however it makes you feel emotionally, that's what it's pointing to, because it's usually a bigger exasperation of the emotional unrest or duress, right? So for instance, lungs, I can't breathe, I can't get in life, right? Well, where have you not been getting in life for real? Where have you not been getting your life? Right? And that really has to do with joy. But where have you not been getting in? Where have you not been getting that in? You haven't been getting it in. Right? That's the message behind lungs. I said this before, HIV for me was about shame. I felt ashamed. It made me feel ashamed. It made me feel unwanted. It made me feel ugly. It made me feel like something was wrong with me. And I had been feeling like that for years. But way before the diagnosis, I had been feeling like that because I felt I was too fat to be attractive. I felt that there was something wrong with me around my sexuality. I felt there was something wrong with me because I had intuitive gifts and I grew up in a very religious home. All of that type of stuff, right? So the disease is going to be trying it's going to be a bigger exasperation of the emotional duress that you've been holding before, and it's there to indicate that this emotional duress is draining you of the love energy, which is your soul's energy. So you can just basically say it's draining you of your soul's energy. It's draining your body of your soul's energy, and your body needs to be fully charged with your soul's energy to be healthy. So ask, literally, and do the exercise I talked about in this video, where you literally just tune in and just in the morning when you wake up, ask your teeth, what's the message? What's the message you have for me? What would you like my attention to? How do you need me to fuel us so that we're fully healthy? And you'll get the message from that. There's a lot of different things I could say unless I tuned into your energy specifically. I could tell you exactly what it is for you, but just off the top of my head, a lot of times with teeth, it's about what do we use teeth for? We use teeth to ingest, right? And to enjoy. We use teeth to ingest in. So you may have a problem with what you're ingesting in your life right now, what you're bringing in. Also, that you're, enjoying. Your teeth, the very purpose of them is to, help you chew your food so that you can better enjoy it and so that you can be properly nourished. So how are you not being properly nourished and enjoying your life right now? That might be a question from it right then, but the best way to do it is to tune into yourself. So Nancy, going back to Nancy's question, Nancy says, anyone, when you are sick, can you see the root issue then? Yes. For anyone, when you're tuning into it may take you a while if you're not used to doing this. It may take you a while to kind of really get still enough and to really trust in and listen to what your body is saying. But anyone is, because your body is not trying, your body's your best friend. Literally is your best friend in this life incarnation. And so it's not trying to be obtuse. It's not trying to hide anything from you. It will literally speak to you if you will speak to it and speak to it in a way and communicate in a way that opens the channel of communication. If you open that channel, you will hear and you will get it very clearly. But it may not happen in the first go round, but it definitely will happen if you go. It's kind of like a muscle. You know, you strengthen it. The more you work at it, the stronger it becomes. But it definitely happens. Just like your intuition is part of your intuition. Your body's wisdom is a part of your own intuition. And so just like anyone can tune into their intuition and get guidance and get the solutions and the answers they need, anyone can tune into their body and hear what their body needs to heal itself and heal what the root cause of an issue is. Absolutely anyone can do that. Do I have a recommendation on how to get to the root when you are already sick? So just what I gave to Leslie, that thing just that I gave to Leslie is exactly what you can do. Ask yourself, and I've done other videos on this. You can go check my YouTube channel. You can go back to my Facebook page and look at my other videos. I have literally done videos where I've gone in detail around this. But, you know, you really need to look at the root cause of it is always going to be an emotional cause. It's always going to be an emotional duress. And so you want to look at how does this illness or this disease or this physical ailment that I'm experiencing, how does it make me feel? And I'm losing light, you guys, so it's getting a little darker than I had intended. But that's what you ask. So I'm going to cut this video. I said all that to say I need to cut this video short before you're staring at a black screen. But basically, you want to tune in and see what is how does this illness, ailment, sickness, how does it make me feel emotionally, and then ask yourself where else in my life have I been feeling like this before? Where have I been feeling like this before? And that's going to show you this is where the illness is coming from, because that feeling is going to be what has disconnected you from love. That feeling is going to usually be the opposite of love. And so to nourish yourself, you're probably going to have to give yourself the opposite of what that feeling is. So for me, to heal myself of HIV, I had, instead of feeling shame, I had to start feeling appreciation and acceptance for myself. Right? That was part of my healing journey. Not part of it. That was the fullness of, that was the root cause of my healing journey, was I was disconnected from appreciation and acceptance. And instead I felt shame. And so to flip that, I needed to start to charge myself with appreciation and acceptance. When I had, lung issues, I was feeling, I was feeling, instead of joy, I was feeling stressed. I was feeling, I might have been feeling depressed. I was feeling sad. I was feeling like life wasn't worth it, or this way I was living my life wasn't worth it. To heal my lung issues, instead of feeling that way, I needed to charge myself with joy, which is an aspect of love. So that's how you can do that very quickly. And then one of the last questions is, I think your name is Siwo. I hope I'm not mispronouncing your name. But how will you know when you receive an answer from your body or emotions? So you will know, by how it feels. Right? The body is always, even no matter what it says, it feels like the truth. And it also feels, the truth by the way it feels. I think that's the India Ari song. There's a line in the India Ari song. She says, the truth by the way, you'll know the truth by the way it feels. This is very true for your body. You're going to know it by the way it feels. You'll know that that's it. Right? You'll know that that's it. It doesn't feel, your body does not speak out of fear. Your body does not speak out of, even if it's something challenging that it has to say, it doesn't speak it out of fear. It doesn't speak it out of judgment. It always speaks it just out of a surety and out of a sense of kind of peace and out of a sense of love. So you'll know it by how it feels. And again, you know how that ailment makes you feel. You do. If you just take some piece of paper, sit down and get honest with yourself, you'll know, how does this make me feel emotionally? Focus more on the emotionally. Write down physically as well, because you may get some insight from the physical stuff as well. But write down emotionally, how does this make me feel? Does it make me feel scared? Does it make me feel angry? Does it make me feel sad? Does it make me feel ashamed? Does it make me feel like I'm not free? in bondage some type of way? Does it make me feel worried? Does it make me feel like it's not worth it? Like, whatever it is, tune into that and trust that. So I just wanted to, I thought this was going to be a quick video, you guys. It ended up being a lot longer than I thought it was going to be, but I hope this information has helped you, especially if you're dealing with any type of lung issues. I'm sorry, I thought my light was going to last a little longer than this, and I'm almost here in the dark. So I'm going to go, you guys. So much love for you. I have so much more videos coming in December before we close out this year, and there's so much juicy stuff coming in 2020, but I'm going to hold all of that for later. Until next time, you guys, I love you. Now go love yourself. Bye.